Doctor in the TARDIS. Next stop everywhere.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm your host, Charles Skaggs, back in the TARDIS once again, ready to talk some modern Who this time with a returning special guest companion, one of our favorite people on Next Stop Everywhere. We love hearing from her emails, and also love to hear her right here on the podcast. Holly Mack, welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere.
Oh, thank you, Charles. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, so Holly Mack from the Five-ish Fangirls podcast, everybody, that you should check out. Highly recommended by the Next Stop Everywhere team. Give it a big thumbs up. And if you remember, Holly was here last time. We talked Battlefield from the Sylvester McCoy era. But now we're going to talk a modern era story, and we've got a big one. Turn Left, we're going to talk this time here at episode 156, which, of course, written by Russell T. Davies, directed by Graham Harper, one of my favorite directors because he directed my all-time favorite classics era story, The Caves of Androzani, which featured the regeneration of the Fifth Doctor into Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor, and was pretty much what I consider one of the all-time best stories of classic Doctor Who. That's what my personal take, anyway. So I'm always glad to see him directing, and this one is a really interesting episode to direct. So this was the 11th episode of Series 4 in 2008, starring, of course, David Tennant as the 10th Doctor, although this is more of a Dr. Light episode, not Dr. Light from, like, Titan's Dr. Light. This is Doctor -Lite.
Yes.
And it's not the DC Comics supervillain, everybody. And also, of course, this is a big spotlight episode for Catherine Tate as Donna Noble.
Yes.
So I'm dying to know. This is one that you suggested you really wanted to talk about. So, Holly, why don't you just tell us a little bit about why you wanted to talk about this, and what really got your attention? How did this really appeal to you as a Doctor Who fan?
This one really appealed to me because it really shows how much Donna has grown since the beginning of season 1, or season 4, and then Runaway Bride. Because I was kind of like Jessie when Donna first showed up with Runaway Bride, the Screechy. I'm just like, ooh boy, don't know. When they made the announcement,
right?
And then
this is because of the Runaway Bride, I'm guessing,
right?
So you're like, I don't know how this is going to work with her as a companion, right?
Right. But then as soon as Partners in Crime aired, I'm just like, okay, so far so good. And then just that whole miming sequence.
Yes.
And then the hug.
Where Donna's behind the window and going, yes.
Yes. I've been looking for you, thumbs up. Yeah. And then the nanny, like, are you guys done? And then that big hug, I'm just like, okay, she's grown a bit. This is going to work.
Yeah. So it took a little while initially, I'm guessing, for Donna to win you over, the way it sounds.
Yes.
But she did win you over.
Yes, she did, in spades.
So by the time this episode came around, were you pretty much sold on Donna by this point, or did you still need more convincing?
No, I didn't need any more convincing. I was sold. I mean, her connection with Wilf and Wilf being supportive.
How can you not love Wilf? I'm sorry.
I know.
He's the grandpa I want.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
I was like, why can't he be my grandpa? He would be the best
No
grandpa
kidding.
ever.
Yes. Universal grandpa.
Yeah. He should be. Wilf is everybody's grandpa.
Yeah, exactly.
But anything? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's okay. And just how everything connects with the doctor saying, you're brilliant, you're important, and her not believing it, but finally she's kind of starting to realize, like, yes, I am. So I'm wondering if some of Donna's screechiness was trying to hide her not having self-confidence, and then the doctor just giving her that boost that she needed.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That's a great observation, by the way, because Donna, I think, was that kind of over-the-top personality that I think she was overcompensating, like you said, for a lot of maybe some insecurity in there. And that I think that comes through, at least, especially in The Runaway Bride, when she doesn't really know the doctor, and she's obviously upset about her wedding. And, this is obviously, a woman's wedding day. You don't want to mess with a woman's wedding day, ever.
Right.
So you could understand her attitude, I think, a little bit there. But so it's like when she was named as a regular companion, I think a lot of us were concerned, well, okay, like you were, that, she's just going to be so brash and obnoxious and this isn't going to work. But I think it's that over time, over the course of the season, and with traveling with the doctor, it makes Donna grow so much as a person and that's why it's probably so heartbreaking at the end of Journey's End. When we talked about that in our big 150th episode extravaganza, that it was so heartbreaking that she had come so far over the course of series 4, and all of that was just ripped away from her.
Yes,
and she was reset back to where we saw her before The Runaway Bride. All that growth and all that development as a human being. And it was ripped away, and I think that's one of the things that made it so tragic for her, and also for us watching that, because we had followed Donna's journey, and it was just such a tragic ending to that journey.
Yeah, because that Donna that we knew and loved up to that point disappeared. There's no friendly red reset button.
Yeah.
I wanted it so bad.
It's like, bring her back. Where's the, can we go back to before Journey's End, we're waiting for the big cosmic reset button to fix this, and it doesn't come. And then you're like, Russell T Davies, RTD, arg.
Exactly.
Shakes fist, RTD.
Yes.
How could you do this to us? And how could you do this to Donna? And, yeah. Yeah, it seemed very unfair, and especially with Wilf, poor Wilf and Sylvia. They know, they're in the they know what Donna was like before, and they can't talk to her about it because otherwise it'll bring everything back. So, but obviously this is all before that. This is just before all that happens, and in this story, and I think that's obviously what you talked about was that this kind of goes a long way, especially with Rose and the doctor both telling Donna that she's special and that she's important, and probably helped make her feel a little stronger of a person as a result. Yeah. So, so anything else about this story that appealed to you before we get into our main discussion?
The fact that we were kind of heading into the end stretch and not kind of knowing what to expect, because I think at this time that was when Russell announced too that he was going to be leaving, and David too was going to be leaving. So it was just like, okay, what's the setup going to be? Because I don't think we even knew about the specials at the time. So it's just like,
I think with David it was so up in the air,
right?
And we didn't know what, like, well, does that mean Journey's End is going to be it for David Tennant? Because like you said, I don't think we knew about the specials at that point. And then it was maybe just a little bit later that we knew about that. I'm not sure of the actual timeline of how that followed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. So you kind of like, because this was the home stretch, it kind of like you were paying, I'm guessing, a lot closer attention to what was going on, and you're like, you're kind of savoring these last few, at the time, David Tennant stories.
Because it was just like, are they going to continue after David's run ended, or are we going to take a hiatus break like the Wilderness years?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what everybody's concern was at the time. I was like, I'm going to enjoy it. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll continue, which it did.
So were you understandably heartbroken about all that when news of RTD leaving came out?
A little, because it was just like up in the air. It's like they didn't have the showrunner in place, and it's like, okay, are we going to keep going? I wanted it to keep going.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's probably just the unknown that unsettled everybody at that point.
Right.
Not knowing what was good. Like, do you guys have a plan? What's the plan? We need to know because we need more Doctor Who, guys.
Right.
You need to make this happen. This is important to us. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's run down the guest cast in this story. First and foremost, of course, Billie Piper returns as Rose Tyler. And so what do you think of Rose coming back for this story?
I enjoyed it because, we had that little nod, I want to say like first or second episode with her giving Donna the car keys and then coming back and then not knowing, and then all of a sudden, boom. The only thing that threw me at first was there was just a little something about her accent, and then she reverted right back to Rose. So I don't know if that happened because of one of the other shows that she was on.
Yeah.
But I was able to shake my concerns with that and dived into the story. It's like, okay,
I think
you're
she was
back.
If I'm not mistaken, she was on Secret Diary of a Call Girl on Showtime.
I think you're right. And it's just like, okay, you're back from.
I think that was before she was on Penny Dreadful.
I believe so. Yeah. So her coming back from the alternate timeline is just like, okay, something big's about to happen. What?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to avoid all spoilers at this time.
Right. Yeah. You didn't want it ruined it for you. That's good.
No.
Yeah. A little bit of trivia on that. You may or may not already be aware of. Billie Piper's return was planned during the filming of Series 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In January of 2006, apparently Billie Piper made this pact promising that she was going to return to film several more episodes. And Davies set up her return, obviously, with partner, the end of Partners in Crime. Remember when Rose came out and everybody was just like, oh my God, Rose is back, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And there was much squeeing, I'm sure, in Doctor Who fandom. So they got permission to squee. And apparently, like he mentioned her in a lot of dialogue. And she, then she turned up later again in The Poison Sky and Midnight in the real fleeting cameos. And then obviously here, this is a big one where she makes her return, and it was kind of a big deal. So yeah, this is apparently part of the plan. So
to have that far out,
yeah,
and to see how everything orchestrated itself, it's like.
It may be just like Russell T Davies had to wait until she had a hole in her schedule that they could film that. But maybe they had, obviously, I'm sure this took a lot of coordination between her schedule and the Doctor Who production schedule to get the stars aligned and make everything work. But obviously we got that. So it worked out. And it was obviously a big treat for the fans, I think.
Yes.
We also got the return of Bernard Cribbins of Wilfred Mott, who we talked about. That should be everyone's grandpa.
Yes.
We got Jacqueline King as Sylvia Noble, who, surprise, is still horrible to her daughter, Donna.
Yes. No Mother of the Year awards for her.
No. And this is one of the things we talked about, Jesse and I talked about when we talked about the Big Finish audio adventure No Place last time, that it's, the Doctor Who companion mothers are horrible people. There's if you notice, at least especially during the Russell T Davies trend or era, that there's this trend that they are just like with Rose's mom. I mean, we kind of start to like Jackie a little bit. And enjoy
she redeems herself slightly.
She redeems herself slightly, yeah, especially once she starts getting over her animosity toward the Doctor, which I think a lot of us hated her. That was the reason we hated her, because she hated the Doctor. Right. Martha's mom, Francine, was just horrible until Last of the Time Lords. Then she finally lightened up.
Yep.
But Sylvia, pretty consistently horrible.
Yeah.
And so not a good look for mothers on Doctor Who, I'm sad to say.
No.
Yeah. We get the return of, I'm sorry, this is the first appearance of Noma Dumaswini, or Dumasweni. I apologize for butchering that name, as Captain Arisha Magambo, who of course turned up a lot later in Planet of the Dead, one of the specials that we were talking about. But also known primarily on the London theater scene as Hermione Granger in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Oh, cool!
On London's West End, yeah, she was. She got that role, and she kind of originated that on the West End play scene. So very cool. Chipo Chung, or Chipo Chung, plays the fortune teller in this story. She, of course, turns up in the episode Utopia as Chen Tho. So
okay, I knew her voice sounded familiar.
Yeah. So a lot of people are going to be like, she seems a little familiar. Well, that's where you know her. She's Chen Tho, everybody. So she has, unfortunately, it doesn't turn out. Well, actually, no. This is after Utopia. So apparently, Chantho was resurrected as an evil alien fortune teller. She's also been on episodes of Into the Badlands, which is a fun series I enjoyed on AMC. And she was in the Sherlock episode, The Hounds of Baskerville.
Oh, nice.
So I thought I'd mention that. So if you eagle-eyed people pouring through Sherlock episodes might want to check her out there and go, hey, it's Chaipo Chung. Joseph Long, who played Rocco Colasanto, was the Pope in the Peter Capaldi era story Extremis.
Okay.
And he's also been in the movie, the 2017 version of Murder on the Orient Express, that starred Kenneth Branagh, that period not too long ago, obviously 2017. And he was also in the movie Spider-Man Far From Home recently. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Was he the guy that sold the necklace?
I believe so. Yes, he was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I believe so. Suzanne McLean played Vina Brady, and she's been in a bunch of Big Finish audio adventures for the Fifth Doctor. She played a character named Maxine Andrews in The Memory Bank, and she was also played the character Diamond in The Last Fairy Tale, and she played Autumn in the Fifth Doctor of Big Finish audio, The Becoming, and recently she appeared on TV in Good Omens.
Oh, okay.
If you're a fan of the Amazon Prime Video series, yeah, which of course starred, you guessed it, David Tennant.
Yep.
And then of course Ben Wrighton played Oliver Morgenstern in the episode Smith and Jones back during the previous season, Series 3. That was the opener, which of course introduced us to Martha Jones.
Yes. So
that was a great story, and nice little callback because, of course, Martha was killed in this continuity, as we find out, and that's one of the things. That's one of the things we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So let's run down our main topics, if you're ready.
Sure thing.
First topic I want to talk about with you, Holly, is Donna, Wilf, and Sylvia. Obviously, this is a huge Donna story.
Yes.
And it's a great one for her. And Catherine Tate really steps up to the plate on this one. And of course, so that means we get a lot of Wilf and we get a lot of Sylvia as well. So let's talk about those three characters and actors. And what was your take on those characters in this story?
Donna, it was nice to see her finally kind of standing up to her mom, especially in the car when she's just like, no, I got the temp job at the where she was going to meet her future.
H.C. Clements, yeah.
Clements, yeah.
Yeah.
She's just like, it's posh, just leave me alone. And she's just like, and Sylvia's just like, you're just doing that because you want to try to find a rich husband. Maybe, but give Donna the benefit of the doubt. Because I'm thinking Sylvia's thinking that Donna's just plain old lazy. I don't think...
Right.
So, because that would take a lot of courage to take a temp job at that high of a company.
Right. You know, it just shows Sylvia doesn't really have faith in her daughter at all.
Right. Yeah. And Wilf, I mean, he's always been supportive of Donna day one. And sometimes I would like to be a fly on the wall with some of those conversations. It's like, yeah, I know she's my daughter, but don't pay that much attention to her. Listen to Grandpa.
Yeah, it kind of speaks volumes when Wilf seems to like, okay, he kind of treats his granddaughter as his actual daughter more than his actual daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like I feel bad. Like what I don't know. We obviously never got the backstory of Mrs. Wilf, but
yes.
So we don't know what happened there, but why Sylvia turned out the way she did. We never got that story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like to think maybe it was, Wilf's wife, Sylvia's mom that screwed her up. But because Wilf, how can you come from Wilf and turn out so horrible? So,
right.
So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. And then part of me wants to know, but part of me is afraid to find out, I think.
Yeah. Exactly.
But so I love these characters. I know Donna in this, by this point, she's introduced in this story. She and the 10th Doctor go to this bustling marketplace in an alien world called Shan Shen, and Donna kind of wanders away from the Doctor, which companions, why do you keep wandering off?
Yeah. Not a smart move. And even the opening sequence kind of reminded me a little bit of the pan down when Donna and the Doctor wind up in the fire in Italy. And
in the fires of Pompeii. Yeah. It's kind of like a lot of that because it is that bustling marketplace kind of vibe, just like in Fires of... That's a great analogy, actually. So rule 2, companions, rule 1, the Doctor lies. Rule 2, don't wander off. And of course she wanders off. And of course she wanders...
Maybe rule 3, don't accept food or drink from somebody that you don't know.
Exactly. Even if they say it's free for women with red hair day.
Right.
Yeah, so
flashing warning sign.
Exactly. It should be screaming, blinking letters, like, don't go here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So of course she goes there. And it's this fortune teller who's really interested, and we'll talk about more about we can talk a little bit more about the fortune teller when we talk about the time beetle. But just to set this up, she invites Donna in and starts trying to nail down Donna about a specific time when her life would have taken a completely different direction had she made a different choice. Mm-hmm. And we find out that it all boils down to this big moment where, like you were talking about, that, okay, if I turn left, I can go to this temp job at H.C. Clements and ultimately end up meeting the Doctor and helping to save the planet Earth over and over again. Or I can turn right and end up with something completely different.
Right.
And so the so the fortune teller, knowing that, working with this, using this time beetle that we find out is, obviously we'll find out later is part of the tricksters brigade,
Right.
and uses that to kind of feed off of that alternate timeline energy. And
I was even getting a little Talons of Wang Chiang vibe too, with the control and just you must do this.
Yes. And so Donna ends up ultimately succumbing to this, and we see her taking that road not taken.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ends up turning right, and this is where we go down the alternate timeline road. And so, if you paid attention, of course, to Back to the Future Part 2, you know exactly what's going on here. And because that's pretty much simplifies everything as far as alternate timelines go. So you go down the alternate road, and what happens is that we, because Donna didn't meet with the doctor ends up dying when the Thames River floods the Rocknoss's lair, and he's not able to regenerate. Which I'm kind of like, well, okay, he drowned. Why can't he still regenerate?
Right.
But okay.
I was floored when I first saw that. I'm just like, what? Wait a minute. We still got so many more episodes left.
He can't be dead.
Exactly. It's just like, oh boy.
So were you understandably concerned by this point, watching this for the first time?
Yeah, I was.
You're like in a little bit of a panic there, maybe?
Yeah. I was just like, okay, wait a minute. Was RTD telling lies to the press?
Yes. Is this like a big shock surprise that nobody saw coming? Yeah.
Right.
But we see the doctor, and he's on the gurney, and his hand drops, and he drops the sonic screwdriver. And you're like, but somebody needs to pick up that sonic screwdriver.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be dead. And then,
No.
And because of this, everything starts to change because the doctor is not around to save the planet Earth.
Yep.
So with Donna's help, of course. So, so this is literally where everything diverges, and Wilf and Sylvia's life, right along with Donna's, gets affected by all this because, and we'll talk about this more when we're going to talk about timeline changes in our second segment, but ultimately they end up living this refugee existence simply because Donna was fortunate enough to win this raffle.
Right.
And get them out of London.
Right. And Wilf's really in tune to this because he went through World War II. Donna and Sylvia are just kind of poo-pooing, but you can really tell. It's because after that raffle, just the looks on his face, I was kind of tuning into him. I'm just like, okay, if he's getting concerned, I might need to be concerned as well as to how this is going to go. Right.
And they end up having to be forced to share this flat with a bunch of, I'm not quite sure what country they were from. Maybe from Italy or something.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But essentially some foreigners that end up getting forced out later in the story because the authorities at the time decide, well, England needs to be for English people.
Right.
So essentially they're deporting the foreigners out and taking them to what they're calling labor camps.
Right.
But Wilf, having gone through that in World War II, knows that labor camps can mean something a lot different.
Different, yeah. Bad connotation.
And it was such a powerful scene when Wilf realized, because they start to get like these people and they care for them, and then all of a sudden they're kind of shipped off, and you see Wilf's eyes, and Bernard Cribbins really does an amazing job how just visibly upset he is as he makes the connections of what this means. And then you see Catherine Tate's Donna just running down the street after the truck.
Exactly.
And it was such a powerful scene. Them? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, where are you taking them? Because, they weren't told where they were taking them. And so, they're never going to see them again. They're not going to, who knows are they going to be taken off to like a prison camp, or are they going to be taken off to be shot? We don't know.
Right.
And so it's just this horrific moment. And it was just so powerful. And you're just like, wow, am I what am I watching here? So very cool.
Yes.
Very cool. And then ultimately, in Sylvia, she's still kind of living in Sylvia world, Planet Sylvia a little bit, but she gets a little frustrated at first because, she's used to finer things and, hates the idea of being forced to share a flat, but then ultimately she ends up sliding into depression over this.
Right. And you even hear, because she's concerned about some of the other people that she knows. And I think, even though she doesn't want to admit it, I think she grew attached to the families that were there that got taken away.
Right. Yeah, we were dangerously close to an almost human Sylvia at this point.
Yes.
But then, yeah, she slides into this horrible depression, and she just wants to be left alone, just wants to sit there, like that. It's all the life, I think, and the hope has been drained out of her, I think. Yeah. And it's very tragic. So that kind of, again, stems from the fact that just this domino effect from the doctor's death onward because of Donna not being there. And so pretty powerful stuff. Anything else about these three characters before we move on?
Just, the interactions. Sure, there was strife, but in that raffle, that Christmas day, just them getting together and wishing each other a Merry Christmas. It's like, okay, they are a family unit, and like all families, they can fight and squabble, but there's still love there.
Yeah. And even through all the hardship, they do kind of still remain this family unit. Although ultimately, with Sylvia checking into depression, it's kind of just more Donna and Wilf kind of relying on each other, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So topic number 2, let's talk about the time beat a little bit more. And the timeline changes because obviously with the doctor's death, that affects actually, and this is one of the cool things about this story, is that we kind of revisit previous stories.
Yeah.
But they end up turning out a different way because the doctor's not there to save the day. And ultimately, a lot of these stories, pretty much all of them, take a very tragic turn that just compounds a horrible situation that Donna and the planet are in and makes it even worse.
Yeah.
So
she wasn't there to talk the doctor down.
Exactly. So it all starts off right away with the Arachnos Web Star attacking London, and then gets destroyed by the army. And and that ultimately, we find out with the doctor dying. So that obviously leads back to the Runaway Bride, or I'm sorry, not the Runaway Bride, but it was the Runaway Bride. I'm sorry,
Runaway Bride. Yeah,
it was a Runaway Bride, and then that kind of takes us to let's see, the bit with the hospital, the Royal Hope Hospital from Smith and Jones, where it gets transported to the moon, but it comes back. And, of course, this is happening as Donna's being fired from her job.
Right.
And there's only one survivor, and it's not Martha Jones. It's actually Oliver Morgenstern, one of the little supporting characters from that episode. And he's talking about this terrible events involving the talking rhinos, which obviously means the Jadoon. And Morgenstern tells reporters that he only survived when Martha Jones gave him the last of her oxygen before she died. So Martha's dead.
And then to add insult to injury, we find out that Sarah Jane and all her gang don't make it out either.
Yeah, Team Sarah Jane is dead as well. Yeah, so this is, they talk about her son Luke and Maria Jackson, they were from series 1 of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and Clyde Langer had also died inside. Because with the doctor not there, Sarah Jane steps up. So credit to Sarah Jane for stepping up, but it wasn't enough. No. And they end up dying. So right there, 2 big deaths. Martha and Sarah Jane, which is just horrible. What did you think of that moment?
That was shocking. This is like, okay, now who's going to be next on the list? It's just like, okay, doctor being gone, his companions are going to step up. Who else is going to come out of the woodwork and we're going to find are going to suffer a not so nice fate?
Yeah. So by this point, were you waiting for that big episode reset button at the end?
A little, yeah.
Okay. And that ultimately, next we get like a reset back to Voyage of the Damned, where the starship Titanic is about to fall on Buckingham Palace. Now we remember that in Voyage of the Damned, the 10th Doctor was at the controls, at the helm, pulling that out before it hits Buckingham Palace. But hey, he's not here now, so the Starship Titanic crashes into Buckingham Palace and creates a big mushroom cloud over London, like an atomic bomb went off, and essentially kills everybody that Donna, Sylvia, and Wilf know. Right. Because they're out of town because, again, of that raffle ticket winning them a hotel stay out of the city.
Right. Which makes me wonder who made it lucky enough for her to probably the Time Beetle to win the raffle.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So southern England, as a result, gets flooded with radiation. And this is what ultimately leads to the Noble family becoming refugees. And they're forced to move to Leeds. France has closed its borders. So as you can see, it's just this big domino effect. Yep. And, and almost like the butterfly effect where, one action creates ripples and leads to just all these different consequences down the timeline. Yeah. We find out then, as we get back to Partners in Crime, where, obviously Donna reunites with the Doctor and starts becoming a regular companion. In this timeline, the United States pledges to help Britain with monetary relief, but hey, the adipose show up and turn 60 million Americans into adipose because, hey, Americans are fat. So So I have to think Russell T Davies took a little pleasure in writing that scene.
Yeah, just probably slightly.
Yeah. But so essentially, sorry about your aid because we just lost 60 million Americans, everybody. So that's that was a big timeline twist. Then we get to the Poison Skies, the Sontarn stratagem.
Yep, with the Atmos.
Yeah, with the Atmos, because we find soldiers firing their weapons at cars because the Sontarans have activated the Atmos devices, which we found out in the original story that they had set up planned this a long time ago. So that had gone through, that plan, but again, because the Doctor's not there, and that ultimately, it starts covering the Earth with this poisonous fog, and apparently Team Torchwood tries to stop the catastrophe. They clear the sky, so they kind of save the day, but it costs them the lives, of course, of Captain Jack, Gwen Cooper, and Yento.
Yep. So Team Torchwood.
Yeah. So, yep. Yeah. Although Captain Jack, I think, gets transported to the Suntaran homeworld.
Right.
Because, hey, he can't die and stay dead. So.
Right.
So they probably treat him as like this big curiosity to study.
During this time, with the Atmos and then the watching of the Titanic hitting the Buckingham Palace on the TV, everybody keeps telling or looking at Donna's back.
Right.
Like, what is that on your back? She can't see it, so it's almost like a silence cloaking technology.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good. Yeah, it's like when we find out that silence created the time beetle, guys.
Right. Well, and I was even getting it. Like the spiders that Sarah Jane had to deal with for Metabilius.
Planet of the Spiders. Yeah, they're kind of like that, And it was. I think it was a lot of a direct homage to that, because you had this big beetle that you would see every so often on Donna's back, and then Donna would turn, and it wouldn't be there because it was almost in this quantum state.
Right.
And it was this big thing. It was driving her nuts because everybody would keep staring at her back. Like they would kind of not see, they would see something, but they wouldn't quite get a good look at it. Right. And it just recurred. And ultimately, there's a big payoff for the whole, there's something on your back that gets laid out. So pretty horrific turn of events, as it turns out. Especially we don't just lose companions. We lost Torchwood too. And this is a big deal.
So that basically pretty much leaves us with Unit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, who is Unit going to get taken out next?
Yeah. Let's hope that at this point their budget hadn't run out yet. So yeah. So we still have Unit. So anything else about the time beetle and the timeline changes you want to talk about?
Just because I was not knowing till it got revealed towards the end, is just like, okay, who has it out for the Doctor that they're taking this much time and energy to do this?
Yeah.
And
ultimately it gets revealed that this is the result of the Trickster, which if you haven't been watching the Sarah Jane Adventures, you probably wouldn't know who the Trickster is, because he's never appeared on Doctor Who.
No, he hasn't. And
so I'm sure a lot of people were probably confused by that. Obviously, the people that watched Sarah Jane, in addition to Doctor Who, were just like, oh, yeah, the Trickster, of course.
Right.
But if you weren't watching the Sarah Jane Adventures, you probably didn't. It didn't click for you, like, okay, who's the bad guy behind all this?
Right.
Yeah.
Because Sarah Jane didn't show up for me till about a year and a half later.
Yeah. So at this point, you didn't know when you watched it.
No, it's like the Trickster. Who is this?
Yeah. See, I knew because I was watching Sarah Jane Adventures, but I could see why a lot of people would be very confused by that.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Ultimately, of course, the time beetle gets off of Donna's back. The fortune teller's freaked out by that because, you're like, you were so strong. What are you? What will you be?
And that even, I think, scared Donna.
Yeah.
Too, because she's just like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a very weird. It's a very odd comment. What will you be? Like, what will you become? Yeah. And obviously, this is right before the Dr. Donna thing.
Yeah.
That happens.
And just the foreshadowing to that with some of the stuff later with Rose is just like, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. So, but very, very interesting to say the least. Third topic I want to talk about. So let's talk about Donna again, but this time I want to talk about Donna with Rose. Mm-hmm. Because these two have a very interesting relationship as Rose keeps popping up at various points throughout the story, and ultimately leading to this big moment where Rose brings Donna to Unit, and turns out Unit's been hatching up a plan with Rose's help. And so I want to talk about all that with Captain Aricia Magambo, and then we could talk about the 10th Doctor as well. After the timeline gets reset and the Doctor realizes that Donna met Rose, and what all that means. So, what was your take on Donna and Rose interacting with one another?
I liked it because it could have gone like when Rose met Sarah Jane, with the kind of the competitive. I saw him first, because even Donna kind of asked, it's like, well, what about you and the Doctor? And Rose didn't say anything, but you could tell that she knew that,
right.
Yeah, Rose had feelings for the Doctor. And
well, yeah, because in this timeline, Donna hadn't met the Doctor, so she knew very little about him.
Yeah. But she just kind of almost had that sixth sense, just that from the look on Rose's face that, okay, yeah, you aren't seeing what's being shown on your face. And
so what, it was nice. It was, I was very glad that Rose wasn't all jealous like she was with Sarah Jane.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, I mean, obviously there's nothing to be jealous of because the Doctor and Donna had never been involved at all, or been shown any sign of attraction to one another.
Right.
But Rose, she could be so possessive.
Yes. My Doctor. Nobody else can.
Exactly.
I don't want to share.
Right. And so that was good to see. But so Rose kind of pops up throughout the story, and she's trying to essentially give advice to Donna to get her to a specific point.
Yeah.
So that she agrees to help. Ultimately, I think the plan is to get Donna in a position where she agrees to help, even when it may end up costing her her life.
Yeah.
And so they end up. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I mean, Donna's a little unsure of Rose, but I think the more that she got to talking to her, she's like, okay, I can trust you. Somehow I'm connected to the Doctor, so if you're coming to me for help, and then to the one scene where she's just like, okay, I will do this because the world we're in right now, not good. It's got to be better in the Doctor's world. And Donna, and then Rose saying, you're going to die. I think Donna didn't realize at first that, okay, you mean my death here? I'll be alive there. And it's just, and then.
Like, ultimately, Donna thinks it's going to work out.
Right, that she's going to be alive in the Doctor's.
Like, the timeline will get reset, but she'll still be okay. And Rose is like, not so much.
Yeah. Don't know how to tell you this, but no.
It's like, do you want the good news or the bad news?
Bad news, yeah.
But it's ultimately Donna gets convinced to help out. So she's brought to Unit, who we find out they've essentially they have the Doctor's TARDIS, and with Rose's help, they've kind of jury-rigged this ability to time travel, or at least to send one person through time.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they've realized that Donna is the focal point. How they did this, we don't know. Doesn't matter.
Right.
And you just roll with it. It's Doctor Who. You roll with it.
Right.
So they figured out Donna is the focal point of the timeline divergence. So the plan is to send her back through time. And Donna is under the presumption that she has to go back through time to warn herself to turn left.
Right.
And when she gets there, though, there's a little moment of awkwardness when she realizes, oh, hey, I'm like, 2 miles away?
Yeah.
And I only have 20 minutes?
And a half?
Yeah, something like
that.
So she basically needs to run 2 miles in a minute and a half or something. And Donna's not exactly a Olympic runner.
No, it's basically another case of the TARDIS taking you not exactly where you're supposed to be, but where you need to be.
Right. Well, Donna needed to be a little closer, but
Yeah.
yeah. So she starts running, tries her best to make it there. Ultimately, though, I think she realizes, because she kind of pauses from exhaustion, understandable.
Yep.
And she tries to catch her breath, and then at that moment, she kind of realizes she's not going to make it.
No.
And then so she figures, well, okay, how can I stop myself from turning right? And she sees a truck coming. And it's this big dramatic moment where she kind of has to take everything on faith. And ultimately chooses to kill herself.
Sacrifice herself.
To throw herself in front of the truck. She literally throws herself under the bus.
Yeah.
And causes an accident, which creates a big traffic pileup on the road where Donna and Sylvia were in the car and would have gone down had they turned right.
Yep.
So Donna, because of the traffic jam, decides, okay, I'm going to turn left instead. Yep. And that resets the timeline and brings Donna out from control of the time beetle.
Yep.
So what did you think of that resolution?
It was a shocking resolution, but good. And then when Rose comes to see Donna as she's dying,
right?
It's just like when you see the doctor tell him these two words, and of course, I completely forgot about the bad wolf when I first saw it.
Oh, like, okay, so you had
words?
Well, we didn't get to hear it at first because Rose whispers it into Donna's ear, and then ultimately when the doctor is there, comes into the fortune teller booth. Who knows what he was doing up until that point, and finds Donna, finds the dead time beetle, realizes that is the trickster, and tries to reassure Donna that that she's brilliant, which I thought was a great moment.
Yeah.
That Donna mentions that there was this girl, she didn't give her name,
and the doctor's kind of poo-pooing her, like, "Oh, you probably imagined her. She's not real."
Right. There's a lot of blondes. It could have been anybody, and then Donna remembers the two words. Of course, that's bad wolf. And the 10th Doctor's big eyes get even bigger.
Yeah.
They get all bulgy, and they're like, bad wolf. Oh.
And then he races out of the fortune teller's shack.
And then of course he starts seeing bad wolf everywhere. So which has to make me think, okay, remember in the parting of the ways when Rose had scattered the words bad wolf throughout time.
Yep.
So presumably at that moment she scattered those words to also remind the doctor later on that he would need those.
And then when he races back into the TARDIS and the cloister bells are sounding, it's just like,
it's never a good thing when, like, okay, you see bad wolf everywhere, the cloister bells ringing, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah.
And then Donna asks what's going on. The doctor replies, of course, it's the end of the universe. And then they go right into the next episode, Stolen Earth, and it's not the end of the universe yet. No. They're like, remember that big end of the universe cliffhanger we left you on? Not so much at the moment.
Yeah. So. You have to wait a little bit.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. Sad trombone. But anyway, it was pretty. So were you? Now you said you didn't recognize the make the bad wolf connection right off the bat.
When Rose did the whispering, because it had been a while since I had seen season 1 and 2, so I kind of completely forgotten that out of my mind. I'm like, well, what could she be telling Donna to tell the doctor? And then then it dawned on me, like, oh, could it be? And then, boom, when Donna said it, like, okay.
That's great. Anything else about this episode you want to talk about before we move into our favorite quotes?
Just that, I mean, all the build-up and kind of, this is almost like, almost every TV series has kind of it's a Wonderful Life episode.
Yeah, the what if episode.
This is it, and it was done so well, and just how it builds everything up for those last episodes with Donna. You know, it's just like,
yeah, and it was such a great showcase for Catherine Tate.
Yes, yeah, and to show her acting abilities.
Yeah. So did this episode make you appreciate Donna more?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think it did. I think it did for a lot of people because of the hardship and the struggle that she goes to, and then the sacrifice that she does to bring everything back for a better world.
Yeah, because she could have easily said, no, find somebody else. But she did it.
Yeah, she wasn't a coward about it. She could have easily said, okay, like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to be with my grandfather, and we're going to try to eke out an existence as best as we can. But Donna had that faith in a better world. Mm-hmm. And this, no matter what happens, it's got to be better than this, like you said.
Yeah. Well, even to go back just a little bit with the timeline, because even Rose was like, you're going to come back to me because you're going to notice, because she had asked, does your grandfather still have his telescope?
Yeah. The
darkness, which kind of ties into the stolen Earth with the stars
going out,
disappearing. Yeah, the darkness.
Yep. It was a nice little setup. Obviously, with Russell T Davies writing all three of those stories, Turn Left, Stolen Earth, and Journey's End, that he was able to obviously set that up nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So do you have any favorite quotes of the episode?
I've got one. This is kind of a two-person. Now listen, Mussolini, I'm telling you for the last time to button it. I've always liked to sing along. And then the Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I see a little silhouette of a man, Scaramouche, Scaramouche. Yeah, that was pretty funny when they were turning Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody into a sing-along. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
No other quotes?
No other quotes. That was my main.
Okay.
That was my main one.
Let's see here. I liked Donna when she was confronting her boss, Mr. Chowdhury, when she was being fired. Donna goes, "You can't sack me. I'm your personal assistant." And Mr. Chowdhury says, "You don't have to make a scene. Just come downstairs and we can have a little talk." And Donna replies, "Oh, I'll make a scene, all right. Right in front of the tribunal. And the first thing I'm going to say is, wandering hands." That's such a Donna line.
Yes. And then for taking all the office equipment with her.
Yeah, like, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. And she even takes a stapler that isn't hers. It
might have been Beatrice's for all we know.
Yeah, like Sylvia's looking at the name tag on the stapler. She's like, who's this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Wilfred tells Donna, and this is when she's kind of having a tantrum about their new living situation. And she's yelling at some guy, and she's going, Wilf goes, "You're not going to make the world any better by shouting at it." And Donna says, "I can try."
Yeah. I'll feel a whole lot better while doing it.
Yeah. It just kind of, step out of the way, Wilf. You're probably going to be a lot better off doing that. Let's see. Donna and Rose talking, where they're talking about the doctor. And Donna says, "That doctor." And Rose says, "You knew him." Donna goes, "Did I? When?" And Rose says, "I think you dream about him sometimes. There's a man in a suit, tall, thin man, great hair. Some really great hair."
Great hair, yeah.
And he's got these dreamy eyes. And, I expected Rose to just start swooning right there. But that's,
Mm-hmm.
And start and pull out a notebook where, like, she's got Rose loves hearts the doctor.
Doctor, yes.
Yeah. All right. And one last quote really quickly. The doctor talking to Dawn at the end, where he's trying to reassure her, which I thought was nice. The doctor says, "Sometimes I think there's way too much coincidence around you, Donna. I met you once, then I met your grandfather, then I met you again. In the whole wide universe, I met you for a second time. It's like something's binding us together." And Donna says, "Don't be so daft. I'm nothing special." And the doctor replies, "Yes, you are. You're brilliant."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I thought that was nice. I like that.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So what's your rating for this one?
9 out of 10 sea chanty sing-alongs.
Ooh, very nice. That was a big one. Very cool. I'm just a little under you. I give this one 8.5 out of 10. Time Beatles, of course.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so had to do the Time Beatles, but I was going to do, if you had taken Time Beatles, I was going to do raffle tickets.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so, but yeah, this is such a very solid episode, and I think I did the half point deduction because it's a Dr. Light episode.
Yeah.
But it's a really great one. So
yeah, and I mean, I don't know how they could have pulled it off if it wasn't a Dr. Light. It would have been an interesting direction to see if he would have been in there for the full.
Yeah. Although part of me is kind of bummed that, like, we didn't get to see Captain Jack with Donna. That would have been hilarious.
That would have been a very
with Captain Jack stepping in as a surrogate doctor.
Yeah. Oh, the hijinks those two could have gotten into.
Well, Donna would have just wanted hugs from Captain Jack.
Yeah.
If you remember, if you remember Journey's End at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can hug me. Yeah.
Yeah. Jack's like, I'll just be over here.
Yeah. So reverse the polarity. I want to do we're kind of running a little long, so I'm just going to do a really quick one.
Okay.
I want to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow back to 1970 with Inferno. This is the fourth serial, season 7 in 1970, written by Don Houghton. We kind of talked about this not too long ago with, I believe, either someone, I want to say it was Lee Leonard or John Takis, one of the two.
But
And apologies for not remembering exactly which one. I've had a lot of special guest companions, as you know. But this is a kind of a good alternate Earth story. The Third Doctor and unit called in to investigate this murder at Project Inferno, where there's this effort to drill through the Earth's crust and harness energies from within the planet's core. The drill produces this icky green ooze that transforms everybody who touches it into savage humanoid creatures called primords, which can only be killed by extreme cold. There's this really annoying project leader named Professor Stallman, who surprise has been infected, and he's in the early stages of the change. He keeps getting into it with the Doctor. The Doctor is trying to harness this energy so he can use it on his detached TARDIS console to try to escape his exile on Earth, but a freak accident transports him to a parallel space-time continuum. And in this universe, there's Great Britain has kind of a fascist republic, and the Doctor gets captured by the Brigadier's counterpart, who's this sadistic eye patch wearing brigade leader, and Liz in this continuity is this military officer instead of a scientist, and in this alternate Earth, the timeline's kind of accelerated. So Stallman's counterpart in this uses he transforms most of the remaining staff into primords, and the Doctor realizes that the energy of the core will eventually disintegrate the planet, and ultimately it reaches this point of no return where the core starts erupting and engulfing the area and ultimately the Earth. He persuades everybody to kind of let him go back to his regular Earth to try to prevent that from happening there, which he does. And because, surprise, hey, Doctor Who saves the day. And they prevent disaster. They stop Stallman, and the Doctor's console ends up with the Doctor trying once again to leave Earth, only to end up on a rubbish tip.
Yep.
So that's that one. So if you kind of like those alternate timeline type stories,
that's a good one.
That's a good one. I'm going to recommend for the classic era, Inferno.
Yeah.
All right. Now we do have some emails really quickly.
Okay.
We got a couple of emails from David K. Proctor, who wrote he wrote about our episode No Place that we talked about last time. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to read that one. But David, I did get your email, and I really appreciate you writing in about that. Because says a lot of great things about our podcast, and he's really enjoying it. So I definitely appreciate that. So I'm going to read, but I am going to read his email about Turn Left.
Okay.
So he writes in, I like the episode Left Turn. He calls it Left Turn, but it's Turn Left. Donna was not always my favorite companion, but she grew on me over time. I think I saw Catherine Tate in The Office, and it made me appreciate so much that I knew who she was already from Doctor Who. This episode is special because it is very Doctor light. They are rare, but sometimes the absence of the Doctor makes you appreciate him even more. This one goes to that point exactly. His absence from the world leads to near destruction. A strong performance by everyone. Ironically, Donna forgetting about the Doctor or never having known the Doctor, I guess, is sort of what leads to the near destruction of the world. A metaphor for the real world, I guess. Ironic, considering how her time in the show comes to an end not very long after this episode. My other biggest piece for me anyway is Billie Piper. My absolute favorite companion, he puts this in parentheses, with the possible exception of Sarah Jane Smith, but I hate to compare classic and new Who. He says, it nearly locks up my brain when I try to decide who my Doctor is. I absolutely love Tom Baker, but when I try to decide who my new Who Doctor is, I just can't. I was hooked instantly on Christopher Eccleston. I absolutely adore David Tennant. I like Matt Smith a lot, but he came in as the replacement of David Tennant, and that had made it hard at first, and I loved him after the fact, and when I rewatch his episodes, I appreciate them more. I was very much an Amy and Rory fan at the time, though. Peter Capaldi was absolutely awesome. Jodie Whittaker is phenomenal. So points to David for recognizing Jodie Whittaker.
Yep.
The one thing I like about New Who is that when we talk about the actors, doing a couple of seasons because of something Patrick Troughton warned Peter Davison to only do a couple seasons and go. He talked about like doing only 3, and then you should leave so you don't get typecast. However, the seasons back in the day had 30 episodes. Now you're lucky to get 12, and then you have to wait 2 years to get the next season, like we're doing right now, right?
Yep.
It's a good thing we have good podcasts to listen to. Hope you mean ours. And BritBox to watch old episodes on, and Prime to watch current-ish episodes on. Keep up the good work. Thank you, David K. Proctor. No, thank you, David, for writing in, not once but twice. Apologies for not having the time to read your first email, but we really appreciate you listening, and we appreciate all our listeners listening, obviously, and want to hear from you, just like we did David. So if you want to be like David, and who doesn't, write to us at nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. That's nextstopeverywheresmg for Southgate Media Group at gmail.com. Or you can reach us on the Twitter machine at nextstopsmg on Twitter. Facebook, of course, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who Podcast. Or on Instagram at Next Stop Everywhere Podcast. We definitely appreciate that. We've got a lot of people liking us on both Facebook and Twitter and all that. Obviously, we'd love more, so please tell your friends about us. We definitely appreciate that. Holly, where can they reach you? Obviously, the Five-ish Fangirls Podcast, right?
Yep, Five-ish Fangirls Podcast. You can find us on Facebook there. We are on Instagram. I'm at HollyMac79 or _79 on Instagram. And we are doing a 31 Days of Huluween.
Nice.
That's posted So if you guys want to join in, you can start late and play catch up. That runs all through the month of October with different topics.
Excellent. That's awesome.
Yep.
So please, everybody, from the bottom of my heart, please check out the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. They've been really nice to us here at Next Stop Everywhere. We've had Holly on a couple times. Holly's written in, and we're getting a lot of great support. So how about we give them some love back? Do that as a personal favor to yours truly. I would definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So everybody check out the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Obviously, as for me, of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Facebook, of course, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. And my blog of geeky things. Wait for it.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere. Your Doctor Who, you got your Torchwood, you got your Sarah Jane adventures. All kinds of comic book sci-fi news of my other podcasts for Southgate Media, including the big rundown, of course, Titan Talk, the Titans podcast they do with Jesse Jackson, who you hear once a month here on Next Stop Everywhere. And then the Phantom Zone podcast that Jesse and I had done before Titan Talk, where we were reviewing Krypton Season 2, and we did a Season 1 wrap-up of The Boys that's on Amazon Prime. Highly recommended, both shows. And hopefully we'll be getting back to that eventually, where we talk more comic book TV shows. And then Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast that I do with Zan Sprouse, whom we've heard here on Next Stop Everywhere, and we'll hear it once again later, where we talk all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, and whatever pop culture nonsense fills our brain, because we're just that kind of people that we love just thinking whatever is on the top of our heads and have a lot of fun doing it. So if you enjoy us on this podcast, I hope you check out Ghostwood as well. Had a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Holly. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Charles.
I hope you had a
good.
I hope you had a good time. And
I did.
But this is a fun one to talk about with you. I really appreciated that. But next time on Next Stop Everywhere, we're going to go back to the classic Who with Vengeance on Varos.
Ooh.
And our special guest companion for that one is someone that, hey, Holly probably knows.
I do.
Yes, because Rachel Friend, and I hope I'm pronouncing that last name as Friend.
Yes, you are.
All right.
Yep.
So we've got another host of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Yep. So that's two of the Five-ish Fangirls we've got here on Next Stop Everywhere. Yep. All right. So Rachel, this is her first time on the podcast. So I really appreciate Holly. I don't know if you recommended us to Rachel or not, but Rachel was really wanting to talk Colin Baker.
Yes,
and we've already kind of covered a lot of them, and I'm kind of saving the Trial of the Time Lord for when we can kind of do all four in a row. But so the choice was between Attack of the Cybermen and Vengeance on Varos.
Yeah.
And or Time Lash, and nobody wants Time Lash. So so she chose Vengeance on Varos, and that's going to be a fun one to talk about, I think.
Yes.
And it should be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to meet Rachel, because I've never talked to Rachel before. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yes, it should.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that episode. And yes, I will be sending in feedback.
Anything I should worry about Rachel?
No, nothing at all.
Okay.
Nothing at all.
All right. She gets your personal recommendation.
Yes, she does.
All right, good. That's good to know. All right. So yeah, everybody come on back. That'll be, where are we up to now? That's going to be episode 157. We're getting up there of Next Stop Everywhere. So check out Vengeance on Varos with Rachel and yours truly, and we'll be talking about that next week. But for right now, thank you once again, Holly. I really appreciate it. I always have fun talking to you. And you're always welcome back, and I can't wait to find out what you want to talk about next time.
All right.
So you're not getting out of that easily.
Yep.
And so when you're in the mood again, drop us a line. We still I think we still have to talk something from the Sylvester McCoy era, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, another Ace adventure, Dragonfire.
Wasn't that Dragonfire? Yeah.
Dragonfire, yes.
We still need to talk about that. So
yes.
I have not completely forgotten about that. I actually have it on the schedule. So we'll talk about that at a future date. But for right now, next time, Vengeance on Varos. Hopefully Holly will be listening. Hopefully all of you will be listening. And thank you again, and we'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Night.